So I'm delighted to present to you the very first speaker, because we are getting right started with Let Tooling Be Your Best Friend. I hope you experience that one as well. Building your prototype within a day. So who has done that already? Within a day. Oh, okay. Very brave. One. Okay, so you focus on that guy, and then the others. No, I'm kidding. But Patrick Müller from Smokeless ex-Burda Bootcamp, so he was here before, is starting off with the first workshop, and I'm very thrilled to see what kind of examples he has to bring and what kind of ideas you will bring on the day. So please give him a very warm welcome and have fun.
So, good morning. So many people here on this not so weekend-friendly time. So, yeah, we are here to talk about prototype, but from the beginning on, I'm talking like 20 minutes and then it's your turn actually. So, what we will do, we'll shortly go over why prototyping is important, what to think about it and what to do. But then I will ask some of you what your ideas are and we will figure out together if there's a possibility to test your thing in a day. And if not, I promise in the program that the one who has an idea that's not prototypable in a day gets a free beer from me, so maybe you are then interested in raising your hand with your idea. So, the main thing is that you often think, oh, we have to build it. It's typical German, like you engineer something for 3 years and then you realize, shit, there is no market, or the others are technology-wise already far ahead, or they have already a huge user base, but you are just starting with your thing and it can be 10 times better than the other thing, but if everyone already uses something, it's super hard to convince them to switch to your product. So the main thing is like be lean, do it, test it, do something small and not do the big thing and then realize shit. So every one of you maybe have heard of the term minimum viable product. A typical thing, you hear it all the time, the buzzword in the prototyping sector anyway. If you not know what it means, it's mainly like you essentialize your idea to the core features of it and then just build this. But I would actually always go a step further and replace product with solution, because often it's like people think of a product, yeah, it has to be the minimum thing of my product, but actually it can be something different if it's testing your hypothesis. So, and the next important thing about prototyping is if you're not embarrassed of your first prototype, you're most likely too late. That's why this whole presentation is in Comic Sans, so that's how it has to look like. It has to be embarrassing. If not, you definitely spend too much time making it perfect. And the main thing what you do is actually you use something called Mechanical Turk. Who of you have heard of the term Mechanical Turk? Okay, your explanation.
Some kind of device where it seems to be automated, but it's not.
Exactly. Like what happened is in the 17th century, there was a machine that played chess automatically. And what they actually did, they built this machine, put some gears in it that turned and looked like the real thing and it would work. But actually there was a person sitting inside it and controlling the robot that moved the chess figures. And like you open first the left door and the person bends to the front so nobody's in there. You close it, he gets back. You open the other two doors, there's no one in there. People believed it that someone has built a robot in the 17th century to play chess and win actually against people. And that's actually what you need to do with your idea and your product. What you do is make people believe everything is there, even if it isn't. So the easiest thing is obviously build a landing page, super simple. There are so many tools out there nowadays like Wix, etc., to really easily build it even without technical background. So if you're a business guy and thinking, oh, but first I need to find a CTO for my company, bullshit. You can't test it yourself. So if you're not building rockets, you can test it yourself. That's maybe one of the few exceptions where you really should think about getting a technical person from the first place and not thinking, yeah, I studied economics, I'm building a rocket. Could work, but not so likely. But what you can actually do with this landing page stuff is that you, for example, can easily put in a form there and ask for, if you're doing, for example, a Uber thingy for prototyping it, you just make a request form, I want to go from A to B on your landing page, and then just send them an email manually when you realize, oh, someone booked it, drive to him, pick it up, and bring it there. And one of the common things where you can do it is also stuff like food delivery things. Obviously, if you think, yeah, there are not enough food delivery startups out there, I'm doing my own one. The easiest thing is put up a landing page, and if someone orders something, you drive to the restaurant he wants to have it, pick it up, and bring it to the customer. So, and it's really not bullshit, because like that's what Foodora did in the beginning. So they had the office at Kaufing 15 here in Munich, and if someone booked something, the CEO of the company took his bike, drove to the restaurant, picked up the food, brought it there, and at this time they don't have these backpacks where everything is stable, so he messed up a lot of deliveries at this time. So maybe then you realize, shit, there's also a problem with delivering itself. If you do it by bike, you have to have a backpack that's stable and not moves like 90 degrees, and then you have a backpack full of Indian curry in your backpack, but your customer is definitely not satisfied. But if you first had built a whole platform, launched big, put a lot of advertisement money there, and then realized, oh shit, I have also this part to think about how to deliver it stable, you are actually fucked. Because finding a solution for this takes you like 1 month, but you spent already all your advertisement money you have from your investors on billboards in the city. So yeah, just do it small, do it lean, do it yourself. And also if you say, okay, I want to do e-commerce stuff, like I think many of you know already the Zappos case. Who of you knows it? Okay. Since it's an interactive workshop, you are explaining it now.
I don't know if I know exactly the case you're talking about, but actually the founder, he's my roommate in the building I have my office in. And what he was doing, for example, was he was looking at really expensive, nice pants or leather jackets. And then, as he has connections to Turkey, he called his customer or his cousin and saying, hey, look, this is what people are buying right now for $600. So can you do this? And he just imitated the jacket and imported it. And people were asking on gutefrage.de, where can I get this jacket from Zappos? And this is a one-man company who's importing clothes from Turkey. So it's a really nice story.
So actually he was talking about Zappos, like the shoe company, like the company Zalando. Yeah. But also interesting thing of like how to do business lean. Look there, do in-demand production. Also a good example how to prototype it. So yeah, but like what Zappos did was like he photographed all the shoes available in the shoe store next to him, put them on a website, and if someone bought it, he was going to the shoe shop, bought the shoes, and send it to the customer. So he never owned any shoes, but made money with selling shoes. And like that's a model of Zalando, so they just copied it from Zappos actually. And that's the easy thing you can do. First say you have it, and if someone really orders it, then you try to get it. It's the same with the Sacco company. You first produce it after someone bought it, and not produce like tons of it or buy tons of shoes. That's maybe not the best idea. And if you want to say, yeah, I want to build like some information stuff, like I will build AI technology that analyzes media about Bitcoins and then gives you an automated recommendation. Nice idea, but you most likely need half a year or a year to really build it. But what's much easier is, if you're interested in doing a Bitcoin project, most likely you already have a lot of sources that inform yourself for should I invest or should I not. So what you could do is just make an email newsletter with something like MailChimp and send it out and say, yeah, this week our algorithm calculated that you should definitely sell Bitcoin and invest all your money in Litecoin. And maybe you're wrong, who knows, but you at least can test your traction if someone is interested in it and believes in there could be an algorithm predicting it. But if you first start to build it a year and then realize, yeah, the people who invest in Bitcoin, they don't trust the algorithm advising them. Actually, they have already their trusted sources for inside informations, and it's based on these decisions. You also like spend a year in developing a complex system and then realize nobody trusts it. So do it simple. Or another good example, like you're thinking, oh, I want to build a chatbot. We want to build a chatbot company. Obviously, there are now tools to really easily build a chatbot, but if you want to test chatbots, there's a really much easier solution. What you do is actually, one of your founders sits there behind your Facebook page and answers each query someone types in. Why you should do it and not like build a quick prototype with stuff like ChatFuel and the other tools? Because then you realize what your customer actually asked the chatbot and not what you imagine someone could ask a chatbot. If we do it for the Bitcoin recommendations thing, maybe you think, oh, they're just asking, should I buy or sell Bitcoin now? But actually the people ask much more complex queries. And you will never realize it if you have default answers, and maybe after a month realize, oh, ChatFuel has this log file where I could look what people asked. But actually it's much easier to put someone there. And now you're saying, yeah, okay, that were all like more business related things. Yeah, I'm a hardware startup, a high-tech startup, and we are building really advanced technology, so we can't prototype anything in a day. So the best example that it is doable is actually this, the Google Glass. And how long do you think they took to build the first prototype of Google Glass?
1 day.
Exactly. And I brought you the video of the TED Talk.
Now, I'm going to ask you a really simple question about Google Glass. How would you prototype this experience? How long do you think it would take you to make the first working version of a headset display? Okay, a little bit on the long side. The answer is 1 day. And here's what it looked like. So basically, the magic piece is the coat hanger. The coat hanger, I bent it in a specific shape, and the top loop goes around your neck, and then the bottom loop rests against your chest. And it allows me to carry a piece of plexiglass on which a little sheet protector. So these are the things that you put your book reports in so they don't get wet. I literally got it at the drugstore.
So you really see, you don't have to build complex stuff, you just have to be creative how to test it. Like in their case, the main thing was, is it technology-wise doable? And yeah, they proved it in 1 day that it's doable, and they used materials you get everywhere. Like not, oh, I have to build this beautiful looking glasses from the beginning and it has to sit perfectly and have to be comfy, etc. That stuff they figured out later, that it should look maybe like this. But first they did it really easily, and I see there are the wrong slides, so I didn't have to improvise now without slides, so ignore that this build will stay there because there are like 5 or so slides missing, and I try to remember what I wanted to tell you next. So yeah, we have now seen, okay, you can do it easily, you can do it for everything. But if you say, okay, I've now built a prototype, now I'm finished, right? Not really. Like testing your stuff actually not ends with building one version of a prototype. Actually, it's iterating. So I brought you some parts from my company, like, put it in the right order. These are 3D prints of our casing, for example. So you see it's changed a lot over the time, etc. There was a layer between, for example, in the first version, it stayed there much long, now it disappeared, but it just happened not by thinking about it, and then sending it to the factory in China and producing 10,000 casings. But what we did was like, we engineered it. Obviously, we had some constraints by parts that exist, etc. So you're not free to do whatever you want, as you would maybe do it in like design process of an architect, for example. There you are more going with shapes. Here you have restrictions you always count in, but still you can iterate. It's not bound that you say, yeah, I have this part and this part and this part, and that's the only way to do it, because obviously the first thing we realized, okay, maybe it has to be more stable, etc. Maybe we can do it this way, maybe we can do it that way. But what really happened was like, over the time you realize, oh, there's a little thing to improve, there's something to improve. And in the end, what you had like, is that we shrinked it by like 30% just by iterating. And in the beginning, every one of us was sure that this is the best way to build it. So you just realize it, if you do it. And if you do something physical, really go there, not watch it on your PC, but really go there and print it out, because like it's super cheap. Like maybe this not because it's an SLA print, but this part maybe costs me like 30 cents. So it's nothing. But another thing is, if you are iterating, you should actually not just iterate. You should do something parallel. So, because you see, they are all quite similar to each other. So you find obviously optimal solution in the minimum, but you maybe not found the optimal solution globally. So there is maybe something better than this shape. So what we started with was actually that we built a different, like really different. You see, they are not really comparable, but it's for the same product. What we did was like, we built different versions parallelly and then tested them instead of iterative behind each other. So if you're doing something, not just make like one design and then you maybe change something on the design, but make 3 total different designs. So I just can recommend it to you, because this way you really find the optimal thing and not just something that's the best version of this of a kind. So that's really the advice I can give you. Now I have to shortly remember if I missed any slides, or if we just continue, and I think we just continue. If I missed something, maybe I'll remember later, because what we're doing now is actually, we are talking now about your ideas and see what is maybe the best way to prototype this, to test this. So who of you actually has an idea, is already working on it, plans on working on it? So then we start with the first one.
Actually, I have a question first.
Do you want my phone? Do you want one?
Yeah, maybe do it. Then it's better for the recording, I think.
You told us about these landing page testing and, for example, building a chatbot based on Facebook site and being there yourself. My question would be, or what we are kind of struggling with at the moment, is driving traffic to it. So basically, we build a landing page, we build a Facebook page, but do you have any like small tips or tricks where we could like easily drive relevant traffic on it?
So what I did often was the easiest way is actually Facebook ads, because they are cheap, they are easy to create, and you can really target a specific group. Because if you go with other ad types like Google Ads, you're always looking for keywords, etc. Someone has to Google it, but they can push it out directly to your target group, and that's actually best. But if you say what's your idea actually, then we can maybe figure out the best way for yours, and someone can learn from this as well.
So basically our idea, or what we saw what small shops are struggling with, is basically building kind of a web shop or anything like this, because a small boutique, for example, a web shop for them is too, let's say, too demanding and too much effort to build. So what we imagined is basically building a chatbot which collects the user demands, for example, like my hammer does for mechanics or anything like this, and we distribute this user demand through a chatbot to basically all the kind of like small shops, small service providers who don't have a web shop at the moment. So what we did is basically we built kind of landing pages for it. We built Facebook sites for it, but we're kind of like still struggling getting traffic on it.
So is there any branch you're saying, okay, it's more for a boutique that sells this kind of stuff?
We're testing it currently for furniture, jewelry, and generally fashion products.
So obviously you can also go into communities that are talking about it, but for the moving case, I think there are at least possibilities to hook you up to, like, there are Facebook groups where people are asking for help, etc. That are places where people go when they move, for example. Or the jewelry case, it's a bit more complex because like I did a jewelry project before, so I know a bit about this. And there it's a bit complex because the people are actually already know their trusted sources to get it from, so it's not so easy. But there you can target actually really good about Facebook ads, because then it is related to a specific target group that buys jewelry, obviously.
How much would you advise spending on like these kinds of ads? I mean, it's like you can make it a never-ending story, right? You never know if you target it right, then you spend another, I don't know, 20,
so what I actually do is like I test it with just 10 euros a day, see how good the ad performs. Because from how good the ad performs, you actually can see, okay, are you on the right track? Are people clicking on it or not? Mm-hmm. So I always do a Facebook ad based on link like conversion on the page, and not on link clicks or on per display, etc. Because they really get the number of like how much you pay per conversion to a click to your website, and in best case you get it for like 7 cents per click. And then you know, okay, your ad is okay, you don't have to change your ad, obviously. On the other side, you also know that people are interested in your product. You obviously always have this gap. If people are not interested in it, you never are sure if it was just your ad, etc. And we had cases where we tested like 4 different ads against each other for the same product, and they were not super different, but just in tiny details, and they converted sometimes with a difference between 40%. So sometimes there it's also worth to ask someone who has done already some Facebook ads to figure out how to do them good.
Okay, thank you.
Can you just put the microphone, just pass it?
But maybe like you are talking just about the B2C market, obviously. If you want to target people in the B2B market, like stuff like LinkedIn is like crazy good. Ask 10 people with a lot of people in the industry you're looking for to share it, and the conversion is crazy. Because there are so less people posting on LinkedIn that you get a lot of visibility there if you have the right friends in your community, obviously.
What's the best way to prototype a smartphone app, so without building too much app, especially if you have no developers on board yet?
So actually I would never say it's an app, because you are not sure at this point that it is an app. You have a problem.
Well, the demographics says it should be an app. So.
Demographics tell you never it should be something. Your customer tells you that it should be something. So what is your idea about, like?
Well, it's a special kind closed group social network for a small targeted group of people. I won't discuss this in detail since you're recording here, I understood. But we need to show something first to someone. So my question is, there some kind of technical platform where you can get something like click to app or something like this?
There are some solutions, but often you don't get far with the solutions. But if you're, for example, building a community, really old school stuff like a Facebook group, a LinkedIn group, etc. are for testing communities quite good. So you can see your traction, you can see what people ask in this group, in which direction they are moving, what are the topics they are talking about, and then you also know directly what you want to do.
We're already heavily checking out LinkedIn, so I second that very much. But the tricky part is getting to the app, since we got a developer on board, and he quoted us several weeks for the first prototype, and well, the one day the one day promise took me here. So
yeah, obviously there's some point where it's not a prototype what you want, but the first version of your product, and
maybe
that's what the stage you are at. But even before building it, I would maybe just do some easy mock-ups. There are so many tools out there where you can build mock-ups with standard UI elements. Go out to 10 people you know but don't know too good and ask them, here it is, this is your challenge to do, say where you would click. So really offline paper user testing, and that's something you can do in a day before paying your developer to build something that you then realize, oh, there is a UI and it theoretically works, but it's not the workflow your user had in mind, for example. So I would really go with paper prototypes, and there, if you're doing like real person prototypes, a good thing, at least for the German market, is eBay Kleinanzeigen. If you're looking for people who testing your product, put it on eBay Kleinanzeigen. It's like Craigslist in US. Put it there, say, yeah, you get 10 euros if you come here, 15 minutes, test our thing. And it sounds stupid, and you would say, yeah, nobody is taking this offer, but actually it works super, so.
Thanks a lot. Who's the next?
I think.
Good morning. I would like to ask how to build a prototype for a bike rental application or a web-based page, similar to Drive Now of BMW, or similar to Deutsche Bahn rental bikes.
Okay, that's a thing that comes often in this question. I want to do the bike rental thing. So what we actually would advise you would be like, so what is the question you like? What is the assumption you want to test with it?
Well, of course the market traction first of all, and the usability. If the people are ready to register, easy, and what to take care of.
Yeah, so
and for me, it's also important to have the geographical data as well as the GPS tracking.
So one obvious thing is you just build a page or an app where you place some virtual bikes somewhere, where you can say there's a bike always like 100 meters next to you, always. It takes your GPS position, puts a bike randomly on the street 100 meters away from you, and if you click on it, you just count the click, and then say to you, sorry, there was a problem with our servers. And then you can really calculate the traction, and maybe you don't do it under your brand name, but do a different brand name. That's also good advice for it. But this actually really works, and it works for so many other solutions. If you want to just track your traction, build a page, and also build a process where they have to really spend effort, like they have to enter their name first, etc. So they have to pay with their time for it to test it and not just randomly click and then, but on the last step you say, oh sorry, away. But then you really can also count how many steps in the process they have finished, at which point they said, oh, it's too complex, I'm not doing it, or are they just interested in generally seeing, or are they really willing to now rent a bike?
Thank you.
Another question. I think we still have time.
I've got one more. Does it work? Okay. My name is Thomas Wügner. I'm setting up Research Up. Research Up is a database network between research industries, research industries, connecting technical students from Lisboa to Letland and from Reykjavik to Athens with the related industry on producing. So my question is, how do I set up a prototype performing exactly this, yielding into a blockchain research contract management?
So, like, I would, obviously it's a big thing and you could test many assumptions in it, but obviously the first thing maybe is there traction for it, because you already know you can build something that works with smart contract, etc. But mostly it's the traction. And so it was like 4 research companies and research students, right?
Right.
To bring them together. So the easiest thing is just buy a domain, researchjobs.com or anything that's free, put up a landing page there, ask some friends out of the industry you have for job offers and put them there on a list. And then count how many people go there and how many people click on the job offer. So super old school, but you at least test your traction if people are going there and if they're interested in job offers. Obviously it's the first thing, but like the technology behind it, like connecting them and building the payment model out of the connections there works. But if you want to just test attraction, I would go with a simple page where you have job offers, because that's actually what the research students are interested in, right? And maybe you not just give them a PDF, but give them a form where they can fill out the information and say, if you have the right job for you, we will contact you. So you're also generating email addresses of students, and they have to put in effort to really do it. If it's just, yeah, okay, opening a PDF is fine, but if you're really willing to give your information first, it's a strong sign that people are interested in those kind of stuff.
Thank you very much.
I think there's another question, and you are assigning one question?
No.
Left or, okay. Oh, perfect.
We have time.
Yeah, then I think there's somewhere the microphone.
Can we go with the microphone so you
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've not seen him. That's why I pointed on him. Sorry.
So, hi everyone. I'm Andrei. I'm working with an inventor of it's drying technology for some stuff like grains or soybeans. So it dries some food stuff fast, very fast, like within 10 seconds and not 2 hours. So it's like a very big hardware, yeah, about 2 times per hour. You know, imagine it's like 3 meters, like a great cube. And so, how could we prototype this thing? How we could test this technology in like real world?
So you have already one unit, or still need money to build this one unit?
Actually, yes, we need money. So we tested it but 10 years ago in Russia, and now we wanna bring this technology like here to Germany and test it here one more time.
So yeah, like it's for actual cultural companies and most likely for bigger.
Yeah, right.
So there it obviously depends if you have a good sales guy in your team, because like the good thing with B2B is that you often have customers who say, okay, I'm giving you the money now and I get a product in 6 months. So there is mainly about selling it, proving that you as a team will do it, that your cost calculations are correct. But that's maybe really a deal where you can do something like this. So I know a lot of startups that have already sold it without having it built, because like, for example, they had to build like by 500 units of something because you don't get it otherwise. And so you really go out there, sell your product without having a product. So, and if you're talking to big companies, the good thing, even if you sell it to a company like Siemens, they took at least 6 months to implement something there. So you have 6 months to do it. And good friends of mine, like, they did their first deal this way. because they went to a big one where they were sure we have a person who works there and he says, yeah, they need at least a year. So we go to them, sell it to them, and then you realize, and then you have the money actually on your account to really build it. And then actually your customer is your first person who tries it. You always, that's mainly like sales. So there, at this point, you really need someone who can sell it to corporates and not being just a group of tech maybe, like, where it's really depending on your team. Another question. Yeah, I think he with the microphone.
You've been talking about landing pages, and I think this is a very common way to test things. The problem I sometimes see or experience is that how many people come to your landing page. If you make an advertisement, or if you have like the best domains are already taken usually, and how can you make people find your landing page? Because even if you post some Facebook ads, people are overwhelmed with Facebook ads, so I get at least 1,500 a day, and even if it's a good ad, I'm not willing to click on anything because I'm annoyed by all these ads. So how can you make people come to your landing page, and people that are, let's say, valid? I mean, not people that you buy, not the 10 people, eBay Kleinanzeigen people.
Okay. So one other good way is doing creative SEO, like buying a domain that's available and still hits a lot of search results. A good example is the domain SW25. Any woman who has a child and knows what this means? You are actually looking for pregnancy week 25 and you're Googling it, and if you're selling a product for someone that is pregnant or will give birth, etc., you just buy this domains, everything, put some content there, keep it updated, and over this generate traffic. And if you're really clever, you just set a tracking pixel there. Over this tracking pixel, you put an ad in Facebook for a free pregnancy tutorial, and from this pregnancy tutorial, you ask to get the rest of the tutorial for an email address, and when you're finished, you have the email address already and can send it to them. So, quite easy, not easy, but quite common way to test something like this. So there's mainly the creativity, and since you are most likely the expert in the field you are looking for people, you know what people are looking for in the internet, and you just test it, see where nobody had ads on, and then put interesting content there. If you're realizing for the search term, there's already 10 articles from big media companies, obviously will not compete with this kind of a trick. But then you just look further for other search terms. So we tested it and it worked. So
I just cannot see any words or domains that might work for us. We're in the fitness business, for example, and if you punch in any fitness words, you will find 100 sponsored ads on the first 3 pages, so it will be really hard to be found by any potential customer. That's
so now we are talking about about your idea, and because that makes it much more interesting, because that's the thing you can easily do offline. You go to a fitness studio, talk to people, because you already know where your customers are. You just stand in front of a gym and ask them, hey, have you 10 minutes, come here. Maybe you ask the owner of the gym first, because people get annoyed if you ask people unallowed somewhere. So we did it once at MediaMarkt and they threw us out not so friendly. So maybe you ask first. Or if you not find it, just do it. That's the other thing. If nobody allows it, just do it until you get thrown out.
Thank you.
So, next question.
So I wanted to ask how actually to know when is the right time to stop prototyping and to bring it, for example, to investors or to market or to like people who actually will be interested in it, and then check if that idea interests them, or so when actually to know when to stop prototyping and going into the market?
So I would say never stop prototyping.
Like when start actually going into the market?
Yeah. Obviously, it super heavily depends on your idea. There's stuff you can easily move out really quickly. I did it for other stuff, and now I own a company where we are doing medical stuff, so you have a lot of regulations where I'm the first time in the position where I can't say, yeah, 1 week and we put it out. But normally I just do a really quick product, even if we build it, and then move it out, see if customers use it, let them discover the flaws in the usability, etc. So I would go for do it early. If you have the resources to really build it, build a first version, and move it out and let the customers test it for you. So, and for the investment part, obviously, you have to look like, it always depends on your industry, the kind of investment you're looking for. Like if you're just looking for angel investment, it's maybe more about your idea than about what you have already built. But if you're, for example, more trying to raise a seed round, it's maybe more important to have at least a working version of it to prove that you are also able to build it and not just have a great idea, but then fail on doing it. But it obviously depends on industry, the investor, and the level of investment you're looking for. So, another question. No? Yeah, there is another question.
How would you test something that's not software or hardware, like a service, like for example a hairdresser or a musician?
Yeah.
How would you test something like this in a day?
Yeah, hairdresser, I just put some flyers out there. I have this new trend in hairdressing, come to me, and if someone calls me, I just cut his hair in my living room. So, super easy. And what was the other thing?
For example, a musician?
Yeah, okay, like that's more creative thing, but for a musician I would just go to Kaufingerstraße and play there. And if people are staying in front of you, you're maybe on the right track. If the neighbors call the police, maybe not.
Thank you.
But now it at least gets harder with it's doable everything in a day.
Hey, my name is Claude. How to build up a prototype, like back to B2B, for smart contracts between manufacturer and his suppliers?
As many blockchain startups do, they ignore the blockchain in the first version of the prototype and just build a database solution that actually does the job and tell everyone, yeah, there's a blockchain under it, because none of your customers will ever check it in first place if there's a blockchain or not. Because yeah, obviously you spend some time to do it right, but often the things you solve with the blockchain are actually just adding it to a database, so you can easily do it. And it obviously is more for testing if customers are interested in it. Like, as many of the blockchain startups I know do, they just sell it without having a product to see if there's traction. And obviously you are most likely sure that you can build it and it's not undoable, right? Or is it that you're not sure if you could build it with a blockchain?
Sorry, again?
So what is the main problem? To find out if customers are interested in it, or?
Exactly, and these customers are business, like corporations, so...
Yeah. Just make a fancy presentation, send out your sales guy, sell it. And yeah, that's what happens. Like, look at the big deals between blockchain startups and companies. Like, what was the name of the startup which now works with Bosch? Never mind, it's not important, but there, for example, they got to them first without they just had a fancy presentation, and they know they have time to deliver what they promised to them. So there it's really the good thing about B2B that if you want to integrate it into the supply chain of a corporate, they need time anyway. Just fake some API endpoints they have to reach. That's something your CTO defines you in a day, send it out there and say, yeah, we have some problems with our deployment, etc. Hold them there, put some mock data on the API and then let the customer think, yeah, it works somehow. Or we had done something wrong. That's often happening as well, that your customer thinking their development department is shit and they can't solve it, and not that your company hasn't just built it.
I'll try it. One last question. We could have time for one last one.
If you don't have a question, I have a. Oh, there's one question, so.
Okay.
Hi, I'm working in a startup, or my own, and we're building a big parking system. Different. The prototype is really difficult because we need a lot of money. So, what would be the approach to do it? We already have a small one in a 3D. We did it in a 3D printer, and it works. But to get to the next stage, we need investment.
Sorry, what is your company doing exactly?
Garage system. Smart parking system.
So, like driving the car automatically in.
Yes. A smaller, more efficient than what exists.
And it should be an add-on, or you want to sell it to a car manufacturer, or.
We need the kick money to start building it. So.
Yeah. I mean, you're in Germany. We are a car country. There are so many programs from the big car manufacturers out there where you can get easily in and get money. Like, if, for example, move to Dresden where VW has its lab. They are heavily searching for automotive companies and let finance them your thing. And the good thing in working together with someone like them is that you also have the options to really see what your customer big car manufacturers need, because they directly say to you, yeah, but you don't use Canvas, we don't understand it, we don't want to have it. But if you're really working close with them from the beginning, you will build something they need. And as far as I know, the companies, they never do like exclusive things. If you go to BMW, to the BMW garage, they never say, you're not allowed to work with Mercedes. They want to have you as delivering it first to BMW. That's why they get you in, and not because they want to have an exclusive thing for them. So, was it useful for you? That was my question, actually.